Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be inspired by spring. So this video actually has to do with flowers, so I thought that it would be a fun video for springtime. Although this is a little bit more of a personal video for me. So today I'm going to be talking about the time that my great-grandmother who passed away visited me. Just to kind of start off, my great-grandma passed away in January of 2017, and she was a very big part of my life. I grew up going over to her house and helping her with a lot of things every summer. Also, I would just listen to all of her stories and sit back and enjoy everything that she could tell me. My great-grandma was born in 1918, so she was actually almost 100 years old when she passed away. Being close to my grandma after she passed away, I have always hoped to either feel her spirit or have an experience with her. But for years, nothing really happened until last year. It kind of started off with, I got this strong sense of emotion that just came over me, and I felt like happy, but I was so overcome with emotions that I just couldn't help but cry. I thought that maybe this had to do with hormones or something like that. I wasn't assuming that this was going to be some experience with my grandmother. But following this emotional breakdown that I was randomly having for no reason, I got the strongest scent of an iris flower that just like filled the room. And this was weird to me because I wasn't anywhere near an iris flower. There wasn't a candle burning. I don't have any candles that are iris scented, but iris was my great-grandmother's favorite flower. She actually had them planted all around her house growing up. And so this just kind of struck a chord with me, and I felt like it had to be her visiting me because there was that weird string of emotions as well as the scent that followed. And so I feel like my emotions got even more strong when I realized it was my grandmother visiting me, because I started crying even more and more, but I was like smiling while I was crying because I knew that this feeling that I was getting was my grandmother. And just to kind of elaborate a little bit more on what the feeling was a strong sense of just love. It was a warm feeling, and I mean, like I said, I was just overcome with emotion. I just felt so much love. I felt so warm inside, and I just knew that that was my grandmother. She was coming back to tell me that she loved me and that she heard me, and she knew that I wanted to be able to just get another moment with her. When my grandmother passed away, she actually, I don't really talk about this very much, so I'm sorry, this is a very personal video to me, but she was suffering from a stroke the last time that I got to see her and say goodbye to her. So she couldn't talk. And that moment, feeling my grandmother, I knew that she was okay, and I knew that she heard me on those last moments that I got to spend with her. My grandmother was going through a hard time a few years before she did pass away. She actually had fallen and she broke her hip. And after she broke her hip, she started to suffer with dementia, and that was hard because even though my grandmother was well into her 90s, she remembered everything. She never forgot a birthday. She never forgot a grandchild being born. She knew everything. And so when I would go and visit her and she would have absolutely no idea who I was, that was probably one of the hardest things for me to experience, because my grandmother was such a big part of my life growing up, and she was just such a role model to me, that seeing her go through this, I knew that this wasn't what she wanted. She was a very independent woman. She didn't like to accept help. You had to find your little sneaky ways to get her to let you help her. You just go over and be like, oh, I'm just here to visit, but while I'm here, do you want me to pull some weeds with you while we talk? Tell me some stories while I clean your house for you. Like, it was just kind of not necessarily going to her and asking her, do you need help, but finding ways to help her while we were there visiting with her. So because she was so independent, because she still was tending to her garden well into her 90s, still was mowing her lawn by herself because she refused to let anyone else do it, it was really hard to see her sitting there and not be able to do anything, as well as lose her memory. So I just feel like the last few years that I got to spend with my grandma were years that I wish could have been different. I wish that she would have been more there. And so when she had that final stroke, me and my younger sister were out on a sister date, and we were going to dinner and a movie. And right as we sat down to have dinner is when we got the call. We left dinner immediately. We got our food to go and we were out of there. And we rushed over to go and see her. And I just remember walking into that room and everyone that loved my grandma, everyone that could be there right there in that moment, everyone was there. She had a whole room so full that people were trickling into the hallway because not everyone could fit inside. And that's just how much my grandma was loved and how much she affected just everyone that got to meet her. It wasn't just her family that saw how special she was and loved her so much. She had neighbors that just adored her, and everyone loved to go and talk to her. She was the happiest, nicest lady that you would ever meet. Like, she was so positive. She would never say a negative thing about a person, and that's just the person that you want to aspire to be. That's who you want to grow up to be. And so she was just a very special person put into this world, and I can't say how lucky I am that I got so many years with my great grandma, because I got to hear so much about her and I got to know her so well. So when she came to me and I got to feel her spirit and I got to smell the iris flowers, and it was such a strong smell. It wasn't like the slightest little scent that it was kind of there and then gone. Like, it filled the whole room. It was so strong. It was almost like someone had sprayed a perfume into my face. But I loved every minute of it because it reminded me of my grandma. It made me feel her presence, and it was just such a good sign to let me know that this wasn't any other spirit coming to me, that this was in fact a family member. This is my grandma. She actually came to me twice in a short amount of time, and the second time was at such a random time. I was just in the car driving on a busy freeway road, nowhere near flowers, and I all of a sudden got that strong scent of iris again. And I couldn't help but just stop and smile and really enjoy the moment, because I knew right then and there my grandma was with me. And we were driving near where her house used to be. It still is there, but it used to be her house. We were driving near that area, and I actually asked my boyfriend if we could go and drive by and just see the house, because I needed to be somewhere that fully reminded me of my grandma while I was experiencing her spirit once again. So we went to the house, and I gotta tell you, that was the saddest thing I think I've ever been through, because it didn't look like her house. It was so run down and trashed, and looked like it was going to be torn down. And I started to really get upset, because I don't want to see my grandma's favorite house in the entire world just torn down. Luckily, I did go by it later on, and it looks like the house is still standing, and it doesn't look like it's going to be torn down anytime soon. So my grandma's favorite house still stands, and it's just a nice house to be able to go and drive by and just think of my grandma. When I did drive by that first time, there were still some of her irises in the garden, but unfortunately they were dying. Sometimes when you tie people to places, it's a little bit rough, because if you rely too much on that place always being the same and always looking like it did when they lived there, it's going to be a huge disappointment when you go by it and see how different it has become. or how run down it is and not taken care of. I just know my grandma would be so upset to see her house like that, and that's been the hardest thing with driving by it, to just go and visit it. So just always make memories with your loved ones and hold on near and dear to those memories, because there might be a point in time when their spirit does come back to you and you do get to experience that really amazing feeling of just knowing that it's a loved one that's visiting you. It's not a random spirit that you have never met, no one you know. It's somebody that was really important in your life, and they chose to come back and make themselves known to you so that you could feel them one more time near you. You could feel their presence and you could tell them you love them one more time. And that was probably the coolest experience I've ever had that has to do with spirits and the other side, is being able to have my grandmother's spirit come and visit me, to have my grandmother's spirit right there and know that it was her, and be able to tell her that I love her again and just cherish that moment. In order to keep her spirit going in my life and to always remember her and just keep her memory there and fresh, I'm gonna be keeping irises around me as much as I possibly can, because that was in fact her favorite flower. This is near and dear to my heart, but I am here to share every experience that I have with spirits on the other side. And so I really hope you guys enjoy this video. If you guys have ever felt a loved one come back and visit you, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate all of you guys for your support and your love here on my channel, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend.